are here. We are back. This is our Red Squig painting contest, Candle Mass 2025. We are going to vote now. So if you guys remember, just a couple of weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we released the Here are the paint jobs, and we wanted you to go take an interest, to get involved, do a little bit of voting. We got all of our community votes in. We've gone ahead and given all of our votes, so we are ready to go over everything. Before we jump into it, though, we do have a couple of different things that we wanted to mention right up top. If you do join us on Patreon, you can get access to an exclusive episode. It's about an hour each week. We also have a merch store that's up. I'm rocking the Ghosts Don't Have Morals t-shirt today from the store, so you can head over to Redbubble, check out some of our merch. Also, Drew and I are rocking the hats right now. So there's some merch over there for you guys to get your hands on. Oh, and we can get all three of us in hats.
So are you
Emmy, you've got one too, right?
Yeah, it's in the car. Sorry, I was wearing it the other day to Panera.
Where you should wear it.
The best place. I like how Chalk is the only one who did the OG keep the sticker, so you know the value.
I'm pulling that off right now.
Chalk's
I
a
just
rapper.
have to be on there. The reason why it looks so good is I hate snapbacks and trucker hats because they don't feel well on a bald head.
Oh yeah,
I almost exclusively do trucker hats.
Yeah,
because you can put a ponytail.
Because they don't. Because they don't leave the
ponytail.
bump on the back of your head.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I don't have any hair, so they're not comfortable.
Yeah,
I also bend them.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't do
So I
much
shape
bending
them.
anymore. I used to do a lot of shaping. Now I don't.
Not
Anyway.
as much as I used to. None of the leave them in a wine glass.
Oh yeah, the
yeah.
shaping I used to do when I skateboarded was ridiculous.
There we go.
Okay. So Candle Mass 2025, that was our last contest set of rules. To go over that for anybody who's brand new, this is your first time here. First off, stop watching this. Go watch the video where we introduce everybody's entries and talk a little bit about all of them, because there's some lore in there. There's some extra information. Today, we're going to go over all of our voting, so it's going to be a little bit more of a condensed. You want the full experience? Watch both videos. That's all we're saying. But the contest rules, if you're brand new, Lunar New Year 2025, we wanted to see those heresy models. So that was the prompt. We wanted to see 30K models. We wanted to see Grand Inquisitors, Paladins, Clerics, Stormcast Eternals, Heretics, and Witches. Anything that fit into the heresy theme. Obviously, 30K being part of that. As always, the submissions that we require do not have to be Games Workshop, and we really want to see anything else that's out there. And a little bit more on that. Here is a tease. Our next prompt, which will be for this spring painting contest, the Easter Festival painting contest, is specifically non-Warhammer. We are trying to go non-Games Workshop with the challenge because it will be happening in and around April. And April is the month that we have all kind of agreed not to do Warhammer 40K content, to let Games Workshop know we're not happy with the massively inflating prices that do not stop and keep happening every 6 months for no reason, and a bunch of other things. But yeah, we do want to see those Blanchetsu. We do want to see those Grimdark painting things, all of that. To go over the way that voting works really quickly before we jump in to the community scores, is everybody in the community gets 3 votes. Each of those votes is worth 1 point. If it's a member of our Patreon, which our Discord community tracks, their votes are worth 2 points. They also get 3 votes apiece. And our moderators get 3 votes, and their votes are all weighted differently. Their votes are weighted 1 point for third place, 3 points for second place, 6 points for last place, or first place. Yeah. Third is 1 point, second is 3. First is 6. That's the way that works. I messed that up.
Ballot. It would be I don't know. Objectively, we would have objectively better electoral systems if we all had ranked ballots. But here we are.
Whose votes count more?
And then our votes, because we're the hosts. That there you go. Our votes because we're the hosts, and mostly because it's silly, not because of any merit based. It was 369. Because 369 damn she fine. There's a whole inner running,
Oh my
long
God.
time running joke. Come on, Emmy.
Ryan. Okay. Look,
Uh-oh.
when I was in middle school and high school, we had this man who came and did the DJing at every dance. His name was DJ John.
Oh my God. DJ
John.
first name only.
John, the most generic white male name that could
Right.
ever be.
Right.
And every dance started with Get Low, and every dance ended with Savage Garden's Truly Madly Deeply as the
Okay,
slow dance
okay.
number to take things
Yeah,
out.
you gotta.
But anyways, I had only ever heard the like clean version of that song until I was maybe like 22 years old.
Okay.
When it was like in a bar, and
It opened your eyes.
really did. Like, I now understand that he doesn't go, oh, skeet, 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 skeet. And he just kind of, he just does that the whole
fine.
thing.
Wait,
Skeet
unfortunately,
isn't good either. Like,
It's not great
be
either,
clear.
but
Yeah.
that's,
yeah.
Unfortunately, from the window to the
Yeah.
wall and skeet skeet are not numerical values, so that's why we're not using those three. But there is an in joke here. So our third place is worth 3 points. Our second place is worth 6 points, and our first place vote is worth 9 points. And yeah, it definitely does upset. It does a little bit of a Final Fantasy change up. But yeah, we do, between us, all of us have been painting for, I want to say, if you added all of our painting up, you'd probably get like 100 years of experience. You know, that old Mythbusters thing. It's not I don't have 100 years experience, but as a cast, we have.
Well, not
You added
continuous. I might have
experience.
started back in like the early 90s, late 80s, but that doesn't mean that I have painted continuously that
Okay,
whole
so
time.
continuously, we have 80 years of experience.
If you
but-
add up all
yeah.
the numbers and then you divide them by pi,
Right.
then
Yeah.
you actually you get a number that when said aloud can
It's Hollywood.
kill
It's
any living
Hollywood.
man.
It's
If you
Hollywood
think we
math.
have
It's-
too much power, tell your friends
to vote more.
to vote more. Tell your friends to join the Discord.
Yeah,
Tell
right.
your friends to listen to the podcast and then come on. And the more people once we get
Oh, it's already
100,000 people
Yeah, that's right.
voting,
Right,
our
right.
votes mean nothing.
Are
That's right.
literally mean nothing. But yeah, every
Just
time the
like in the real
contest,
world.
every time the contest, every contest we get bigger numbers. So yeah, just keep it
Mhm.
coming. But anyway, let's actually jump into the scores here because I'm kind of rambling. The community scores for this time, tied for first at 16 points each, are Ickbard and Neko. Kind of interesting because they both submitted
Nice.
Big robot.
Knights. Yep. Second place
Completely different styles.
with second place with 12
Oh,
points is JJ Waterboy's Witch. Then third place is Soul Voltalix. I believe I'm pronouncing that right, with his twins here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Tied for fourth place are Semi-Serious Nerd with his Karn the Betrayer in a very, very Blanchetsu grimdark style, and Terra the Sloth's converted female space marine. Female, are these not repulsors?
The
Redemptors? They're the sneaky
the scouts.
specialists.
Yeah.
Yes.
they hide in bushes and stuff.
Yeah. Fifth place is number one Christmas hater with his Corn Dreadnought Contemptor. And then in sixth place, we have Thomas with his
tank,
Fellblade.
Thomas the Tank.
Yep. That was fighting against some Tyranids.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. If you guys want to know all of our opinions about everybody's paint job, again, go ahead and head over to that first episode, get caught up. But let's jump into Emmy's votes. So, Emmy, we're going to start with your third place vote. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's semi-serious. You know, the Blanchetsu Grimdark style is literally kind of the opposite of what I like to do, but I really think this is neat. It's inspiring me to add more blood effects to anything, really. I think blood is a neutral, and I'm going to start rocking it this spring. Good job, semi-serious.
Yes. Very, very cool. Very gritty, very dirty. I love how the red is covering up the blue on the armor.
Hmm.
All right. So for your second place,
I went with Neko. I remember from last contest, we gave Neko some very specific actionables and feedback about the kind of like the overall rhythm of the piece, the balance of the portraiture on the panels versus the armored panels, as well as just some tips for painting a portrait on a non-flat surface. Neko took the feedback. This looks amazing. I really kind of love the red and white with the little tiny pops of color with like the purple on the inside, the blue lenses. Just overall, it looks awesome.
yeah, it's a really cool piece. I would like to see more close-ups of the portraits
Mhm.
next time. I know that we can see a bunch of them, but give us a couple close-up photos next time.
Mhm.
All right. And your first place you went with
Mr. Ickbard, I thought the basing was really creative. I really liked the amount of, sometimes people just paint these big armor panels a flat color, don't add enough sort of like depth to it to break it up visually. This looks awesome. The OSL looks super cool, and the detail on the base is really cool. And I think does a really good job tying it to the lore and like the little visual storytelling we got out of your piece. So good stuff.
I really like the dynamism in the water. Like it looks like this knight is like walking through shallow water. Like you can really see it moving. It gives it a sense of like, I don't know. It's
it
cool. I
embeds
really,
it
really like
in the
that.
scene rather than it just being like
Mm-hmm.
like clear resin.
Yeah, just
Right.
on top.
All right. Well, Chalk, you're up next.
Okay.
So your third place vote.
Who was my third place? My third
Neko.
place was Neko. All right, so I am not going to make any comments on the freehand stuff. Neko does do this and did it in the last one, and they're good, but that's not why I voted for this. Some of the other comments that we left last time specifically had to do. We thought that his paint was a little too thick, and I think the overall, just taking the freehand stuff out, and I'll probably, as Neko improves, I will continue probably, if he keeps submitting these, I'll probably continue to vote for him if he improves. But I'm not voting for the freehand unless he I actually don't know if what Neko's pronouns are, unless they really hit it out of the park. And I don't think they've improved that much for me to vote on the freehand. What I'm going for is how clean the knight is itself. It's really hard to work on big flat panels of armor, and I think this was great. I think the color is great. I think there is some nice subtle fine lining, black lining around the trim that's really good. I don't know if those checks are freehand, but they match the color really well. So I sort of think they might be freehand, and I think that is really good.
It's not a decal transfer. I'm pretty sure
I did not think it was a decal transfer. I thought it was.
They freehanded.
I thought the check was really good, and I think the underlying skeleton is also top notch. I had trouble voting on this one. So for me, it came down to a couple of things, but like the lenses and everything, Neko, I think this is really great, and I need to look up everybody's preferred pronouns because I don't necessarily know what they are, or you could send me a note and yell at me if I get them wrong. But I think the color composition and I think the overall execution was really good.
What one piece of clarification that Neko did send us is all of the paint jobs on the knights are former knight pilots.
Yes,
Oh,
and
yes.
they had
Which is
talked
really
about
cool.
that on I think on the submission, the last submission that they did.
Yeah.
Part of the lore.
All right. So your second place.
Oh, boobies. No, I'm just kidding. I think, I'm not sure. I think maybe there was, I don't know if this was blown up when, I think maybe the photo could have been a little bit better. But what really got me is I like the fabric. I really like the effects on the fabric. It looks like fabric to me. And I also like the shading on the skin. I thought that was really good. I struggle with that. I've been able to do some okay stuff on orcs, but this is really good. This is a larger piece, and I don't know if that makes it easier or harder. I would think it would make it harder to do. I also like the effects on the horns. I just thought this was really well executed. That's about all I can say. And boobies.
And then your first place went to
Terra. So these are good and clean, and although I can recognize good stuff with like the Grimdark and the Blanchetsu, whatever, I think it can hide a multitude of sins. And I prefer personally a clean style. That's not how I vote because there's some really good stuff with the dirt and the aging and all, but I think this was just really well executed. I also liked the little diorama that they were put on. I did not vote on them being like a female space marine converts. I just really liked the entire look and feel of them. I thought it was a good job. And I like placing them on the terrain also. I just thought it went together really well, and it was coherent across all 5 models, which can also be hard to do.
Oh yeah.
Pardon me.
But like I said, it
you.
was really hard for me to go 1, 2, 3 on these.
I will say because Terra is also on my list.
Spoilers.
We're gonna
You're
get
up
there,
next.
but I know. But like it just because we're already talking about it, and just to sort of stay on topic here, I will echo all the same things that Chalk said. You know, like I like a variety of paint styles, and I like to paint in a variety of paint styles. Like I like to do grimdark stuff. I like to do full on Blanchetsu stuff. I like to do like the clean panel lines that almost looks like Gundam stuff. And like it's really great to see them when they're all done well. And this is as Chuck says, it's like the lines are so clean, it's so tidy. I gotta tell you, doing like the bicolor on a marine is incredibly challenging.
That is, I can't believe people that do whole armies or the quartered, which is even worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just drive me cuckoo. So I like bravo for taking on that challenge and executing it so well. I love, and again, the incorporation of the basing and the theming for the terrain. Like again, it's another one of these models that they look like they live there. You know, you get a sense of like, and again, like some like a nice sort of I want to say like tasteful or like restrained use of like the dust on their legs and stuff like that, because it lets the paint still shine through. You really see a great paint job, but also it again, it ties the model into the train and really
And
sort of brings stuff together.
what is the green on the grenades, Tara?
Yeah, let us know.
Shoot me a note. I want to know what that green is.
If that's goblin green, I swear.
No, it looks too light for goblin
It's
green.
definitely too light. Yeah.
All right.
For those of you who don't know, back in the good old days, we used to rim all of our bases with goblin green. Every single
I'm not talking
one.
about rimming that I did back in the day.
I was actually going to say it is interesting that the paint job on the bases here is not black. That's not often nowadays that we see that, which is pretty cool. If I could give constructive criticism, and I'm going to, I was going to hold it, but I am going to give it. And this is a Ryan is a weird thing, so disregard it if you don't want to regard it. I have gotten really, really into cleaning up every single mold line unless I'm really aggravated, which has happened. I get super aggravated and I'm like, I'm not cleaning that one. I know I didn't see it. I'm not cleaning that one. But I will strip an entire model and go after a mold line. And I've also been trying to drill all my barrels. It's not something that I'm saying you need to do at all. And it's not something that I'm saying takes away from the value of the paint job. It is, however, a barrier to entry with a lot of like GW or RTT or LGS level painting contests. And because of that, it's just something that I've been very mindful of recently. I even go after the little like notches that are left in some of the bases because the bases are also injection molded. And every once in a while they get a little notch on the side of them. And you've got to like sand it the shit down. We are going to do a little like breakdown of our favorite tools at some point. So I think we will go over some, but that's just the only thing. Like really, you have one seam that I can see. I'm talking about one mold line. I'm not talking about 1,000. I'm talking about one. So and feel free to ignore me at the same time. But with that in mind, Drew.
Yeah.
Your third place.
My third place is semi-serious. This, we already talked a little bit about this model, and I'll save. And we're like, again, like one of the things I like. So we talk about thinning down paints, which is great because we talked about doing that with giving that advice to Nico. In this particular case, obviously, semi-serious did the opposite, right? And let the paint give texture. And like that's a hard line to walk, especially like but if you want to do stuff where it looks a little bit grittier and things look dirty and worn and sort of like communicates that, like this does this really, really, really well. I love like the contrast in sort of like aesthetics that we got is like great examples across the board here. There's no OSL here. This is just good old fashioned dark, grimy, and gross, which I appreciate. I will say this though. When you're doing this style, try to pick out one or two things where you're going to give it a lot of saturation and a lot of contrast and a lot of brightness to break the thing up. Because unfortunately, I can tell you that this on a table is going to look a little bit more like a blob. You do need to like be mindful of like when you're painting your model, every once in a while, stand up and take like 5 steps back and look at it. Right. Because again, like there's what it looks like up here, but when it's down here on the table, when someone's looking at it, even if it's going on a shelf, if someone's looking at it on a shelf from across the room, you want to have something to like give it some pop and some edge. That doesn't mean that you go all the way and do like a full edge highlight or anything, but like give like bright eyes, something to sort of give us that to enhance that shape, that silhouette.
Another thing, if you're looking, sorry, another thing is photography can make or break, and you do have a little bit of soft highlight all over the model. One of the ways that you could remedy that is check out Emmy on TikTok because she just reviewed a light box, and I will turn it over to you. Chalk, sorry.
Yeah,
I just want to throw that out there because I don't know how long that deal's going to last.
Yeah, there are a bunch of light boxes out there. There actually you can get a bunch that are fairly inexpensive, even ones with included camera apps that work well. For me, it was hard to judge this one. I like the composition and all, but it was just too much. It was too much gore, too much blood effect. I actually had trouble judging painting on this one. And I know that Semi is good painter. I could not tell on this model. I did not think it was up to what I considered his standards because it was too much. I think that if the gore effects had been dialed back, maybe just 20%, I think it would have showed the skill a lot more. I've seen a lot of really good gore effects where they don't overtake the entire model. They're more focused.
Although
And I think-
realistically, if you were doing this sort of stuff, you would probably be even more covered in blood.
Yes,
than
but
this
we're not.
model.
But we're not doing realistic. We're
Right,
doing.
yeah.
We're doing
Yeah,
a.
these are all impressionistic.
Yeah.
In
So
one way or
that
another.
was just that is my input. I'd like to see not as much.
I think one of the things that could make a really big difference to this model, just like right off the gate, is whatever the consistency of the whatever type of paint you're using. I'm guessing for the base, you used a bunch of acrylics and stuff. For whatever reason, they're giving a lot of sheen in this. I would hit this, like, go to your hardware store, get you a can of
Matte varnish.
satin varnish.
Oh,
Satin
you
clear
like
coat.
satin?
I like satin. Well, for this stuff specifically, I would go matte for things that have like a cleaner look to it. For this, I would go satin for sure. It'll just, again, it'll help communicate the style of the painting that you're going to do a little bit more, and then you can go back in and you can hit those gore effects and stuff like that to again give that difference in texture, so that the blood stands out from the paint and you get a really clear sense of where those things are and the intentionality there, and it also like sells the blood a lot more to the audience as well.
I would hit it with
all of this
matte.
being said, like, you took risks, you swung for the fences. I really appreciate that. I love the dynamism and the again, like,
movement of the piece is
the
great
movement
too.
like it
the movement's
feels
great.
Yeah, like that there are multiple models in this. It is telling a story that really excites me. So big fan.
One of the things, what just going on what Drew said, if you hit something with matte or satin and you go back with some gloss varnish out of the pot, or if you're doing GW, go with, what is it, hard coat or whatever, and you hit some of those, you strategically hit some of those gore effects, so it makes them look wet in contrast to the dried, which would be like with the satin or with the matte. Even that might make it stand out a bit more.
For sure.
All right.
We're going to the next one, which is number one Christmas hater. Again, a lot more blood. This is where we can see blood going in a different direction in terms of like saturation. Like Semi-Serious used a lot darker and desaturated and more red brown, where this is a true red. I think this gives it a different style. I love dreadnoughts. I don't know if you knew this about me. Big robots are definitely something that I really enjoy. There were so many fabulous models, like big centerpiece models in the contest. But again, the things I liked about this is from like the markings. Like, I like that there's the mark of corn in blood on the arm there. I like that. Again, it's telling a story. There's some movement to it. It's just like the dreadnought is just like, right? I like seeing the old school paint schemes too. It's like the 30K paint schemes for the legions, and then because they look so clean and so perfect and so tidy, and then to immediately disturb that with obviously the very real horror of what's going on, because like we're used to seeing that, like, the Vitruvian Space Marine for like the that illustration that they always used to show like the paint schemes, and it's just so perfectly clean and tidy, and just contrasting that with, I mean, obviously the World Eater's up to bad shit. So I really enjoyed that. And again, I wanted to pick a variety of like models and styles. And I felt like we had a bunch. Like, honestly, if you told me to like rank these again 2 weeks from now, I would pick different ones. Like, in terms of like quality and execution, like I was blown away. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. Like, we ranked things, but like, for real, like at a certain point, I was just like,
It gets hard. It gets really hard.
It does. And I picked out some because I wanted to have a variety of like styles in my picks. And I feel like this was a really fun middle ground between the really hardcore Blanchetsu and then what I picked for number one, which we already talked a little bit, which is Terror of the Sloths. Cool, not intercessor, the grappling
Oh my god,
hook.
I cannot remember the name of this stupid unit.
The Marines
not
with
stupid. They're cool. They're stupid because I can't remember the name.
The skull mask grappling hook ones.
Yeah. I'm really glad that they didn't do the skull mask, because the skull mask is one of the things that irritates me about this kit. What is this kit called? Oh my gosh.
Reavers.
Reavers?
Yes. Yeah. They're, they got knives and they're spooky.
Yeah.
So I've already said, I think what I wanted to say about this particular paint job, which is just like, again, opposite of what we saw with Semi-Serious, like very clean lines, very clean look, like nice hard like stepped shading. It's a full unit. There's like wonderful cohesion. There's a lot of like contrast. It stands out, ties in with the terrain really, really well. Like, yeah, this is fantastic. Like, there are certain techniques I'm sure that they could improve on. I have no doubt. But what this is a great combination of a bunch of techniques together to really sell a full like model. And I really, really appreciate that.
And this is something that I struggled with and probably still do struggle with a little bit, but don't be scared of applying a wash to lighter colored skin.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because you've actually got really good contrasts and color definition in your darker skin tones that you painted, but a couple of your white ladies, so to speak, are missing a little bit of that like flush. And our skin's got a bunch of different tones in it, and like super watered down Reichlands. Honestly, a lot of the flesh tones are made for putting on top of white person skin, because let's face it, most of the people that paint Warhammer are pasty white people in London, so they do what they know. But like a thinned down Reichland or something can really help. And it was, when I finally started doing it, it is such a cheat code.
It is,
because painting skin sucks so bad. But anyway, you did a really good job. I'm just throwing out an extra.
Yeah. You know what's weird is that Army Painter actually has a skin set, like a box set, and it has something like 10 paints, a set skin tone thinner, and about 3 washes. They're like 15 bottles in the set for doing skin tone, and it does it does light skin, dark skin, tan skin, everything in between. But
yeah,
what I think, and I fall into this too, and I watch a lot of skin, videos, is that when you see people do it, they use a lot of tones and they use washes.
Yeah.
It's not 1 or 2; it's usually 3 or 4 with a wash in between.
Well, and the from a canvas painter standpoint, from a watercolorist standpoint, green and red are used in almost every single complexion shade, which you don't think about it. But when we learn to paint the human form, green and red is usually a base mix. And then all of the other colors that we put on it are on top of it. And it's counterintuitive, because at a certain point you're like, well, you can't see the color that I put down underneath. You can't, but you can. Like, it's subtly changing and adjusting stuff. But anyway, It's really hard to
It's
paint
like
skin.
why, you know,
Yeah.
And
like
you
you
did a
go
great
to the
job.
MAC counter, there's 100 shades of lipsticks.
Right,
Like,
right.
there can't be like one nude and one pink that goes with, 8 billion people.
I mean, my orcs, the base colors for my orcs are pink. It's
Mhm.
Leviathan blue with a dry brush of pink horror and then a dry brush of yellow before I apply any green. And like,
Mhm.
can you really tell that they look like strawberry? If you
Yeah.
watch my progress photos, you can totally tell that they're strawberry lemonade orcs. But when you look at the finished product, it just looks like variations on green skin.
Yeah.
And that's just the build-up process.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are trying to mimic subsurface scattering, which we can't do on solid models.
Oh my God, I found out. Okay, so super tangent. I'm going to digress for a second. Right now, there are 5 films that are up for Academy Award in Best Visual Effects. Those films are Wicked, Dune 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I had to think for a second there. The Robbie Williams, I think it's Better Man.
Better Man.
And why can I not remember the last one?
Amelia Perez? No, I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh, I cannot remember the last one.
Nominated for a bunch of things. Is it the monkey? Is it another monkey movie? Is there a monkey in it?
I feel like it's another monkey movie. Wow. Okay. So anyway, those are the important ones to talk about, in my opinion, are those. Okay. So Planet for the Kingdom of the Apes has a technical achievement that has never happened based on what Chalk just said. When they model the eyes, when Weta Workshop model the eyes for the monkey, not for the apes, because one of the apes looks into a telescope, the subsurface scattering looks real. Those apes look real. The reason they look real is they did not animate like 1 or 2 layers of the eye and call it done. Weta Workshop rebuilt the entire stacked biology of the full eye, which is insane. And that's why the subsurface scattering works right. Oh my God, you did what? And again, when all the orangutan falls in the river and all the water's rushing over him, it looks really good. Same thing. They rebuilt every single layer there to get the subsurface scattering. Now, I will also say, I'm gonna put this out there. I'm gonna say this right now. Wicked's gonna fucking win. Wicked does not deserve to win. It does not have the best visual effects. I understand that everybody loves the fucking movie. However, 1, I couldn't watch the entire thing because it wasn't really that good, and I'm a musical theater kid, so that's saying something. 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes has a much better visual effects. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox. I'm done digressing.
But from a practical mini painting standpoint,
yeah, you can't do that. You cannot rebuild the human eye.
but what you can do, this is where I'm getting to.
Yeah.
So things like orc ears and things that are thin. Now, often you see people do like a yellow highlight or a yellow-green highlight on orc ears. And I do too. But why it works is not because the light is catching that, is because it's mimicking that ears are a little translucent.
Yeah.
So it's not. So when you put that color on like an orc ear, it's not because it's a highlight reflection. It's because what you're trying to do, and you should put it a little bit on the inside of the ear, not just on the highest point. Admittedly, I usually do this on 6mm models or 10mm, so it's a little harder to do. But what you're trying to mimic is how it's lighter because the light is coming through the ear from behind is what you're trying to mimic.
Right.
And that's just because orc ears tend to stand out like sort of like, the bat wing things. Doesn't work the same way with human ears because they're folded, flat against the head.
And the thing, the dirty secret here, and we're not the only painters that will ever tell you this, but the super dirty secret here is that if you listen to a lot of the like Golden Daemon judges talk, you'll hear things like, don't dry brush is cheating. Don't ink wash is cheating. Do all of this with tiny little lines. Don't wet blend is cheating.
We're not wet blending now?
They are
what are we doing?
fucking
We
lying.
glazing?
Yeah, they're lying. They're
all of that. Lying. They do all of that. That's the way that you get this subsurface scattering effect. Again, I dry brush 3 colors on my armors or on my skin before I paint, but before I cheat and use a contrast paint. And you know what? A single model takes me like 4.5 hours to fucking paint. And then you got a Golden Demon guy going, well, if you just do the heavy metal style, it'll
but the
take
heavy
you
metal guys
15 minutes.
They were doing that
model."
anyway back in the day. They were not following their recipe to get those results.
They make the barrier to entry. They make it they artificially inflate barrier to entry on painting contests. If you're just fucking submit. like you're probably really good. Submit to your local contest. Keep submitting to our contest, because everybody knows that Red Squig is more valuable than the Slayer Sword.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, before we keep digressing out. For my third place, I am in the wrong menu. For my third place, I went with Neko Omegon. First off, big improvement over last time. Can definitely see that a lot of the advice that we said you've worked in. It feels like you're coming along with us on your painting journey. I really do like your freehand. I think it's great. It's still a little chalky, but you got two things you're doing. The first thing you're doing is you're freehanding, which is like a whole thing. Yeah. The second thing is that you're freehanding in light colors. So you got this. Possibly, if I were to give you any advice, I'd possibly look into Pro Acryl. Just because the light colors, Pro Acryl's white colors are really nice. Light colors, I shouldn't say white, but like whiter colors, yellow colors are really nice. I've also heard really, really good things about Too Thin coats. I have not used Too Thin coats, but I've got a bunch really of them. I haven't really used them. I do use a lot of Pro Acryl. Most of my whites are Pro Acryl. The other thing that I am facing as a realistic thing as a painter, and as a painter who paints white and red things because I paint white scars, is there is very little actual white on my white armor. My white armor actually starts brown. It starts as a very middle of the road. It's not really a cool brown. It's not really a warm brown. It's just a middle of the road neutral brown. And then I build up from there with several different layers, including like light blue. Don't knock a toe off there, Drew. Light blue, and then that was highlight. My shin. Okay, well, don't knock your shin off either. And then I'm highlighting and doing all of my highest reflections with pure white. And it literally, like, it is something that I have known because I went to art school. I have always known this rule, and for whatever reason, until like 2 years ago, my brain, when I painted a miniature, was like, no, just use white.
No. Okay, let me tag onto that. Two things. One, don't use Pro Acryl titanium white as a color. Use it you can use it as a base, as an undercoat, or to mix, but it is too pure. One of the things that there is no actual pure white in nature. You don't see pure white. It's always some shade. So when you put...
It is bold titanium. I was just checking the name. It is bold titanium. Yeah. I was like, I thought for some reason it was like white ice or something, but you're right.
It's bold. It is a great coverage paint.
Oh, yeah.
And for white paints, it is like one of the best white paints. It blows away anything from Citadel. One of the reasons is because it's liquid, not like
it's not fucking powdered chalk.
But it is too pure is one of the problems. And I find even for like a final highlight, it is too pure. It is really good for things like OSLs or whatever, or anything that you're putting, if you're putting inks over it, if you're putting anything over it, it's good. But white in nature is never white. It's like one of the things when Ryan ran a print shop, I did a lot of printing. We'd always tell people would come in with art, and it's like, don't use white, because when you do printing and all, white is the absence of color. You need actual like dots on the page. And it's the same thing when you're looking at a model. There's something wrong. Your eyes register pure white as wrong.
It's got to be like a reflection, essentially.
Yeah, that's why you usually use like a really light shade of gray as your pure white.
And he did really good.
Oh,
I mean,
he did.
The white on the armor is really good. I'm again suggesting pro-acryl
I was
whites.
I just said this because you
stuff.
suggested Pro-Acryl,
Yeah.
and everybody says, "Oh, Pro-Acryl, they're titanium, they're bold titanium white." I was just like, it's good, but it's too white.
It's way better than I think that.
His armor isn't actually, or their armor.
Yeah,
sorry,
isn't fully white.
Isn't actually white.
I really like the snow on the base too. I don't know why. I'm just noticing you have a snowy base.
Oh, really?
But, yeah,
So that's the whole theme for the army. Yeah,
really
I'm
good.
a bright neutral gray person from the Monument Hobby line for that kind of stuff. Or alternatively, if you're going to go in the other direction, is just ivory.
Oh yeah, no,
With ivory.
My white scars are. If you were to like ask me to tell you my main base color, it's blue ice. It's a very pale or pale blue ice. It's got a very real like art name, rather than like snot goblin blown out of a blue horror blue dye or whatever the fuck that GW name is. But yeah, it's a really nice blue color, and you can't really tell because it's it's layered. Again, it's all layering.
Yeah. Some of the best white armor I've seen, if you're looking for like a dirty white, is actually very close to like black armor, surprisingly, because it's like black built up. It's black built to a lighter gray.
Yeah.
And the steps are actually not that much different. It's like taking it one step further than where they say, this is black armor, but it's mostly gray armor. Then you have white armor that's black, that's like a gray armor, but then it's mostly gray armor, but is a little white. But they start at black.
I also paint Black Legion a lot, and I use Abaddon Black on those models for one thing and one thing only: painting the base. There is no Abaddon Black in my black armor. All right, so next up, or my second place, I should say, is Icbard. Icbard, I absolutely love this knight model. I cannot, I mean, everything that's been brought up. I love the dirt effects and the age effects on all of the large panels. The OSL is great. I love the lichen clinging to the model because it gives it this like very aged and in setting look, almost as if the knight was disabled and sat for a long time. And there's a lot of other hints that that's the truth here. It's missing its mask. It's missing its collarbone guns, and it's not missing anything. It's choices you made in telling the story. It's not that you forgot the part. It's very obvious that these parts are missing on purpose. The damage to the claw, because that's supposed to be a 3-bladed claw, not a 2-bladed claw. Again, the way that the resin, you gave it those lines around the toes that make it look like it's actually standing in flowing water. Just a great model overall. Very impressed. Beautiful. Icbard has been submitting paint jobs for 4 years now, and I could go back and I used to give him crap. I used to push him a lot. I'm like, this is what I want to see out of your paint jobs. And now I'm like, damn, do something I can yell at you about. It's a great paint job. I love the undercoat, the under armor as well. The substructure armor as well, the kind of brass color. And my top pick is JJ Waterboy. We don't get a lot of busts. I do like seeing busts. I think they're very cool. I like that is something that exists in the hobby. And I definitely think it allows people to flex a lot more, or not flex a lot more, but push themselves a lot more, because it is harder to paint a larger object. You have to deal with making sure your paint doesn't look chalky. You're trying to avoid leaving visible brush strokes. There's all sorts of things that when you come up to that 54 or 75 millimeter scale, all of a sudden become really noticeable. Nothing like that on this model, which is great. I love the blending on the cloak. One of the main reasons, honestly, that I picked it was the blending in the cloak and in the skin tone. Again, you're playing with all of the different variations of what skin tone and what like black can be. Because that's a black cloak. We were just talking about this. That's a black cloak. And it's very obvious that there is not a lot of true or any true black in that at all. The other thing is, and this is a little subtler, and I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but I did want to point it out. He painted texture into the horns, and he did it the way that it actually happens on animal horns, which is amazing. And it's like one of those little details that like, oh shit, good on you, man. Like I wouldn't have done it. The other thing is painting hair sucks, which is why a lot of times when we paint hair and fur, we pick a color and then we put a wash over it and we call it done. And that's not what he did here. There's a lot of different color variation in making this hair look silver. I really like this paint job. It got my first place, and there you go. To get to our final scores, first up in fourth place, we have Tara the Sloth. Awesome paint job. I think we all kind of echoed all the things that we found amazing and loved about it. Cannot wait to see what you submit next time. We do have the rules. They will be out soon, I promise. We did give you a little bit of a sneak peek, non-G-dub, but we'll have the rules out soon. In third place, we've got JJ Waterboy's Witch. Again, I think we all kind of, I don't know if anybody has any closing comments, but I think we all kind of expressed our love for this particular piece.
Yeah, it's a good model. The horns are great.
In second place, we have Neko Omegon.
And we want you in first place next time.
We do want you in first place next time for several reasons. One of which is somebody's got to knock Ickbard out of his throne. Ickbard taking home a second win in a row, which has never happened before. We have had two winners. Semi-Serious Nerd has won twice, but nobody has won twice in a row. So awesome job, man. Good job. Congratulations, Ickbard, on your second Red Squig Trophy. Yeah. So for those of you out there, we really want you to get involved in our painting contest. The best way to do that is to join us on Discord. We do print out a Red Squig Trophy, and then one of us, usually me, paints it. We are going to get Drew and Chalk and Emmy into the rotation of painting them. We just are getting some of our last little beans in a row, or counters in a row, or however you want to say it. Ducks in a row. That's no one says beans or counters.
You can actually see mine in the background, right?
That's right.
There.
Chalk's won. Chalk won our very first one for a night, actually. Our Armiger. But Armigers are nice, right? It's all the same. But if you guys want to get into contact with us about the show, you have any questions about our format, you want to know more about us in general, you can do that through email at underthehiveofmadness@gmail.com. Again, we have a community on Discord that you can join. We'd love to have you over there as soon as possible. We do have a podcast, so check out our podcast. It's on Spotify. There'll be links down in the show notes, or no, here is it show notes? Yes, here. On YouTube world, it's down in the description. There we go. So we'd love to have you.
We should be able to make something pop up in the video.
I'm not that sophisticated yet. But yeah, we do release our backlog episodes on the podcast here on YouTube. But if you want to get current, if you only have listened up to I think it's episode 76 or whatever that's out right now, just so you guys know, we're at 150 or 143. But with all of our side episodes and extra episodes, it's 170 some odd. There's a lot of content out there. We've got even more on our Patreon. Check all that stuff out. Do you guys have anything else to tell these lovely folks today?
Stay safe. Keep your head down. I don't know. Shit's bizarre out there. I don't know what to say, man.
Yeah. It's been an interesting month, but
it's been a hell of a fucking week.
We want you to come and paint miniatures, so come join our Discord, and let's see your awesome paint jobs. All right, guys. Good night.